Hello, everybody. Give me a second here. Blah, as I'm having like way more issues today. Hi, everybody. The joys of live streaming. So, welcome back. And for those of you who are new to the show, uh, hello. Although, if you're new to the show, just going to quickly point out here that I'm currently reading my dad's manuscript, and I'm currently on chapter 22. Uh, so if this is your first time watching, I really, really strongly recommend going back to the past broadcasts, watching those, and then catching up. um, a lot of them aren't too long because they're very. This book has very short chapters. There's a lot of chapters, but they're very short. So I'm, yeah. Um, other things. Um, yeah. So my name is Beth Wagner. Hi. I'm reading my dad's manuscripts. This one is his 1982 version of that book back there, the blue book. It's called Guardian of the Sword. That one is from 1977. This one is from 1982. Same story, but it's like a little bit different. And I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to actually merge the two manuscripts, or if I want to have a separate special edition one. So, without further ado, I'm going to leap on into it. One second here. I'm going to take little sips of coffee break as I need to. Yeah, so I will be reading more stories. I have a lot of stories to go through. When I do that, the most of the other stories are going to have me editing while I'm reading. That was the whole entire point of doing this, is so I could hear the story out loud in order to be able to like make editorial changes. I'm not on here because this is a very old manuscript that was typed in. So what I'm doing with these ones is I'm scanning them into the computer and then translating the picture into text called OCR, and then editing again, and we'll see what goes on from there. I'm not sure. So without further ado, I'm just going to hop into it. Sorry, guys. A little long intro. Chapter 22 of Guardian of the Sword. The division of the Albanian forces before the storming of Hardinian might be seen as a classic error of strategy, but it was done when they were thought to have a superiority in numbers. The end result, an army appearing almost from nowhere to attack Hardinian, was a cause of great consternation among the Hygerians. This had only the effect of making Hardinian fall a little sooner. The numerous Hygerian troops outside then forced Connell and Rourke into their second gamble to hold Hardinian. The Hygerian War by Randall of Aventure. The Prince's army, now about 1,700 strong, took over the city. They had only to wait for Fedron. Work parties set about putting things in order for the defense, for not only was it necessary to wait for Fedron, it was necessary to preserve the war host as an instrument fit for further fighting. A ditch was dug outside the breach, and a hedge of sharpened stakes was set into the pile of rubble. A special force of men was drilled in certain maneuvers devised for the defense of the breach, and others sweated and strained to haul some of the light catapults up to light platforms which had been built on the wall for them, overlooking the places deemed most likely to be attacked. The great catapult was brought just inside and mounted in a courtyard, while all available arrows and javelins were collected and placed in baskets along the walls. A good number of the men, of Hardinian offered their service to the prince and were accepted. Those who could prove that they knew how to use them were given arms and armor to taken from the Hygerians or taken from the dead of Osbeln. For the rest, they took to practicing in the use of bows or javelins. There was there was much such practice with missiles going on. Rourke, who had seen what what trained archers could do, kept his warriors practicing with the bow when possible. They were far below Icarian standards, but even the worst of them could now put 6 arrows out of 10 into a man-sized target at 100 paces. Small scouting parties were out to both north and south to bring word of the first approach of the Hygerians from either direction. 3 days later, the Hygerians were reported moving from the south. 3 days later, the Hygerians were reported moving from the south. There was no word from Fedrin, but it was hoped that he would make his way through before the condition of the force in Hardinian grew too serious. It was noticed that the Hygerians had among them engines for attacking the walls of the city. It had not been expected that such things would be ignored forever by the enemy. Still, some of the more gloomy-minded of Asbeln's soldiers prophesied gloom and defeat until restrained by command of the prince. We need time, Connell. Every hour we can buy in which they do not attack us is added time for Fedrin to come through. Connell drummed his fingers on the table before him, looking at the expression on Rourke's face. And you, my friend, have found another way to buy a few more hours for us? I do not think I shall like this, but tell me. I will take out a force of cavalry. We will conceal ourselves back in the woods and come out to raid them the first night. The next day, we will come back through them and return to the city, doing what damage we may on the way. The prince's hand slapped down hard on the table. I was right. I do not like it. A night attack is a good way to get yourself killed. Like is not by your own people. And you will cut your way back through them in the daytime? Bah! And what sort of magic charm will keep you and these men invisible while Hygerian patrols comb the countryside for you? I might die in a day attack as well. We can cut our way through, particularly if there's a sally from the city at the same time. As for their patrols, I had thought to take us far enough from the city that they would not think of looking for us. So you come to fight on tired horses? Connell's hand fell on the table, palm up. Connell, do you not think I have thought this through? We might well sit here all night arguing so, and end by doing nothing. Will you give me your leave? Yes, I suppose I shall, though my heart likes it not. If I lose you, I lose more than another commander. I have no wish to deprive you of my company, Connell, but I fear that this may be the only way to buy us some time, and time is the thing we most desperately need. The small group of horsemen met in the brush overlooking the plain around Hardinian. Their scouts drew quick maps in the flickering firelight, showing where all the Hygerian siege equipment was placed. After a quick scanning of the plan, Rourke assigned his men to 3 groups, then told them their targets. They were 100 all told, and he felt that 30 was the smallest number which could expect to achieve any success, even by surprise. Each man had a large piece of white cloth tied around his sword arm, a rough means of telling friend from foe in the dimness in which they would be fighting. They all mounted, and Rourke looked round at them. No foolishness now. We are going to destroy equipment. And if any of you decides to dive bravely, surrounded by a ring of dead foes, I shall personally see to it that a song is made remembering you as a blockhead who endangered his comrades by seeking glory in a needless death. Now let's go. They rode down toward the Hygerian camp in silence. It had been arranged that the signal to attack would be the challenge by the first Hygerian sentry, and when the voice of a tired man sounded from the darkness before them, they reacted as though a trumpet had sounded. The sentry's shout alerted the guard detachments. Before they could approach the point of danger, Asbelonians were splitting into their last three groups and riding at a gallop to their destinations. They did not stop to fight, though they did ride down several small groups that sought to hinder them. Rourke's force attacked a large ram, mostly of green wood and covered with green hides. They had dragged in bundles of dry wood on ropes and had several jars of oil with them. They had little hope of destroying the ram, but they might make it unusable for a time. They piled the brush at one corner and poured oil in the same area, then cast in torches. Even after the fire was going, they stayed up to hold off those who had come to put it out. At last, Rourke, noticing the numbers of Hygerians gathering against them were becoming too great, he led his men out by the least difficult route. They stopped at the place where they had planned their attack. After a time, when it was thought that as many as were likely to have gotten away had come in, they rode to a new hiding place. The Hygerians did not pursue them. It only remained to re-enter the city the next day. I've read better. I know. Um, it's a Friday. It's been a long day. But yeah, that was another, like I said, another short chapter. That's okay. We're really getting into it now. I'm Yeah, it's the battle scenes. I'm not really sure where these stories are going because I don't read them ahead of time, so I don't really know. I mean, I know what that story was like when I was working on it, but I also went through it really quickly. So now I'm trying to see if it's the same as that. I think there's some parts that seem to be a bit different. Um, I need to like I think I need to merge. I think I'm going to be merging because there's some parts of the 1982 version I really like, and there are some parts of the 1977 version I also really like. So yeah, the merging seems to be the best way. I mean, I might just do like special editions of like the 1977 version straight up and like the 1982 version, and then a merging of the two of them as a final editor's cut. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's Friday. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will talk to you again really soon. I'll be back on Monday. So have a good night. Thank you.